Hello, welcome back to the Clout and Blue podcast. My name is Dan Rowlandson. I'm joined by Ashley Priest from his hotel room in Australia, in Perth. It's 2 o'clock UK time, so getting on for night time over there in Australia. I was going to say the time then, but I don't know it. Is it 10, 11?
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock in the evening.
There we go. Okay. It's your last day. Well, your last day covering Villa anyway in Australia, with them flying back to the UK ASAP, as far as I've heard. So this is the last time we'll do a podcast from Australia. We did say that we'd only keep that intro of you with the core cat until Villa lost a game. Technically, they've not lost yet with the late goal from Cohen Chambers sealing the draw on the end. But I think you've probably got to be in a beret with a baguette, haven't you, next week for the France game? So I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do in the week. I'll stitch you up again. Man United 2, Aston Villa 2 then, a game very much of two halves to get that cliche out of the way early doors. Let's start chronologically then with the first half and the lineup. I thought that was a strong team when it first came up, and everyone on social media was going, that's probably a good indication of what Villa will play against Bournemouth in 2 weeks. If they play the same way they did in the first half, that won't be the team that starts against Bournemouth. What did you make of it, mate?
Yeah, well, it's obvious Gerrard likes them two formations, the 4-3-1-2 with Coutinho as the 10. Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins up front. Didn't really work in the first half. Villa didn't get on the ball. United dominated, and it wasn't very good. And until the change at half time, Villa kicked on, and they've got the rewards for it. But yeah, I think that 4-3-3 is better. Leon Bailey has pace. He had Kane Kessler-Hayden down the right side with pace as well. Whereas in the first half, it was all too static and couldn't get a foothold of the game. I thought Douglas Luiz was quite good in the second half. He got on the ball, and Villa had a spells of possession, which they didn't do in the first half. So yeah, tale of two halves, Dan, like I've said. And plenty of food for thought now going into the Bournemouth game, given Leon Bailey's emergence over the summer. He's been a real standout. So yeah, that Ings and Watkins, it's a debate that rages on. Can they play together? That was their first time they was alongside each other in pre-season. Didn't really work. And as things stand, I think you'd say one up front for the Bournemouth game, and who takes that we don't know. But yeah, Taylor two halves and much better second half, Dan. Much better.
Yeah, the first half was a little bit worrying. I was getting ready to come on here earlier thinking, it's going to be a really kind of depressing podcast. And as much as we've been saying, let's not read too much into the result, playing the way we did in that first half it was grim. There was nothing good to come from that first half. Losing games is whatever in pre-season, but you've got to at least have a good workout and show a bit of signs that you're working on something. First half was just nothingness. It just didn't seem to gel. There was no balance in the positions or anything. Thought the midfield was totally bypassed. Even Kamaru's looked good, didn't really offer much, and the conditions and stuff aren't great. But Man United were still pinging it around, looking quite good in the first half. So that's not something we can blame. I don't really like the two up top formation, to be honest. I don't think it worked right, because we've said it multiple times last season. Your only width comes from Dean and Cash, which is fine because they're adequate going forward. But McGinn and Ramsey, or whoever it is, are covering fullback, and that doesn't get the best out of them. So I much prefer the second half options with natural wide players, with Coutinho coming off the left and Bailey from the other side. But then that leaves you with two proper midfielders in Kamara and Luiz, and you wonder, how does player of the season Jacob Ramsey get into the side? So plenty to work on, but that second half system definitely seems to work better. That's my watch going off there, sorry. That second half system was certainly a lot more coherent, I think. Yeah,
you look at both United goals as well. They came down the opposite flanks. I think Cash was doubled up on. He had no support in front of him. And on the other side as well, the cross into the box and obviously come off Cash. So yeah, the fullbacks didn't have too much protection in that first half. It's in Shaw and Rashford doubling up on Cash, and that's how the first goal come about. But in the second half, you got the wingers tracking back to help the fullbacks out, and you win the ball back, and you can run forward that way. I quite liked it. Was the Brisbane game? No, it was a Leeds game. Sorry, Bailey and Cash together on that right side. That worked well, and obviously today, Bailey and Kessler-Hayden were the two standouts on that right side as well. So yeah, I think the Coutinho formation with the two strikers, very narrow, very rigid, and United got on top of us right from the word go, really. And yeah, there's a lot more fluidity in that second half performance and that system. I think it suits us better. I was at training on yesterday, and yeah, the team Gerrard started with Coutinho in that pocket and the two strikers. That's what they was working on. So they'll flip between the two systems as the season goes. Yeah. But at the moment, I think it's the 4-3-3 that favours us. It surely does, based on tonight's evidence. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something about it just isn't quite right for me. I don't know why. And I think when you're only going to be playing, or if you're only going to be playing one striker, it's going to be Ings or Watkins. What debate you end up with there? And if you're only playing 110, Coutinho or Buendia, there's a load of people that will say that Coutinho is like the man. He's the star player kind of thing. He's the one you bought in and the one that Gerrard likes. But every time Buendia comes on and plays, I always think, how is he not starting? So if you're only going to be playing one of them, it's going to be difficult to who you pick as well. I think Louise and Kamara as a 2, and then Bailey, Buendia, Coutinho as a 3 behind one striker is probably our best option at the moment. But again, how Jacob Ramsey gets into that side, I don't quite know unless he plays as one of the further forward midfielders as like a second 10. It's difficult, but as we've said a few times, it's going to be a bigger rotation next season for a lot of sides with the 5 substitutes. So maybe gone are the days of just having a starting 11 that's decent with a couple of good subs. People like Archer, Buendia, Bailey, if they are on the bench, they can come on and impact games probably more so than substitutes have ever done before.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 5 subs next season. That'll benefit the squad as a whole. Gerrard wants to add to the squad further, as we know. And next week, once they're back in the UK, we'll start streamlining that squad. A few will head off. I seen Gilbert today. He hit it. He wasn't on the team bus. He was on the media bus. He wasn't involved today. Gilbert again. That's quite telling. He wasn't involved in the squad. Nor was Bertrand Traore. Augustinson, he wasn't involved as well. So yeah, squad shaping still happening now. Johan Langer jetted into Perth over the last few days. I seen him yesterday, and Villa's squad will look different in a couple of weeks' time. By the time kick off at Bournemouth, so yeah, a lot of squad shaping to do. A few people to head out. Couple more to come in maybe, and then we'll have a good idea what Villa can achieve going forward.
Because as much as that first half was getting this reaction of, that's the team that will start at Bournemouth, it was the team that started the second half that was probably the better balance side with Louise in there as well. And Kamara is obviously going to start, but that balance in the second half was much better. We talked a lot about Gerrard kind of assessing the squad in this 3-game period and in this tour that they've had, and a lot of that was met with, he's had 8 months to assess his squad, but it is kind of the nuts and bolts of, you're there every day with them and this is the time to judge them. What do you think he'll have learned from this 2-week period or 10 days or whatever it's been?
Yeah, that was one of my questions I was going to ask him before there's no press afterwards. So,
why is there no press, by the way? Is there a reason for that?
I was waiting ages. Gerrard didn't come down. At the last minute, Villa decided they need to get to the airport as quickly as possible. So I waved Gerrard off in the bus and he went. So, yeah, no press today, sadly. I had a few questions lined up about possible outgoings, business, and obviously how the tour was as a whole and what did he take from it? What did he learn? Who stood out? Who disappointed? So, yeah, that was on my little notepad. I was going to ask Gerrard. He took a lot from it. He's been around the players for 2 weeks solid. You just seen how they reacted to training sessions, grueling training sessions as well, how the bodies recover. Who's shown a bit. I think we all know who has. Leon Bailey today. I think Gerrard's had an in-house interview and he said as much. He's giving food for thought for the Bournemouth game now. And if Bournemouth was tomorrow, he'd be starting. So that was very good. Yeah, learned a hell of a lot from the group. He's been pleased with the youngsters, Dan. He really has. Tim Org-Bunham, Kane Kessler-Hayden, Ben Crisene, Josh Feeney, he loves as well. So they benefited from this senior tour out in Australia. And yeah, he's got amongst it. Spoke to him about not having Neil Critchley around, which has been a bit of a blow down. He's the new assistant head coach. Obviously, Villa signed him from Blackpool to replace Michael Beale. He hasn't travelled, as we know, due to a passport issue. He said he's a bit of a blow not to have him out here, but he's in regular dialogue with him on Zoom calls and stuff and feeding information back and watching sessions. So that's been a bit of a blow. I'll probably do a little bit of a winners and losers piece on the website over the coming days. Well, I'll put that now. And yeah, a lot to take from it. For me personally as well, a lot to take from it as well, given the following Villa have out here. So that's been huge as well. So yeah, great trip all round, both for Gerrard and for myself, Dan. And for Villa, we've got a lot out of it.
Let's not waste those questions in your notebook then. Let's answer those between us then if we can, and we'll try and get a bit of feedback from the comments as well. Who do you think's been the biggest benefit of this tour? Who's improved or impressed the most for Gerrard? Quite a difficult question, actually.
Biggest benefit, Leon Bailey, probably.
Yeah, I was going to say the obvious one is probably Bailey, even though a lot of the youngsters have done well. I think Chambers as well, possibly. We're talking a lot about Carlos and Mings being the 2 and Konsa coming back to fitness, and he was obviously a first-team starter last season. I think Chambers offers a massive food for thought as well, that he might even be a potential starter for the start of the season. He's looked very good in most Villa games he's played, but in the pre-season tour, him and Carlos as a pairing is, you could argue that's our best two now.
Yeah. Chambers has really stood out as well. Even stepping out from the back and putting crosses into the box, become a real outlet. Goal scoring now, Dan. Can't remember the last time they scored from a corner like that header.
Yeah, ages.
Been a while. Ages. So that was very, very pleasing. Yeah, Chambers, Leon Bailey, the youngsters, they've all stood out. They really have, and yeah, they've taken their chance big time.
Kane Hayden as well. A lot of people talking about him in the comments as someone who's impressed and looks kind of dangerous every time he comes on. The ball he put across for, I can't remember who it was. It was really nice. I don't think anything came of it, but yeah, a good little cameo from him as well. And it brings up the questions of, are they now developed enough that they become the backup players, that it's Cash and Kessler as a two and Gilbert is surplus to requirements? Or does Gilbert become number two and Kessler now goes off into the Championship on loan potentially? Same for Irabunam. Does he go out on a Championship loan or League One loan and Nakamba's your backup? Or is Nakamba surplus to requirements because Irabunam's good enough to be a backup defensive midfielder? Interesting questions that I'm not sure I've got the answer to. How do you assess the youngsters out now? You've been over there for 10 days.
Yeah, good question. I think Kane Hayden has really stood out. He really has. I think he's proved the point again today that he should be around. He should be around. Gilbert wasn't involved in the squad again. Back-to-back games now, not even on the bench. But now the 25-man squad, nowhere near it. And so that's very, very telling. I think Freddie could be off. Timur Bunham, yeah, Gerard buzzing with him. He said if he locked in a room now, he had to make a decision. Tim would stay. He's really stood out. There's loads of clubs queuing up for Tim, Dan. Championship, high-level Championship clubs as well. So I think Villa will sit on that decision. I think Gerard said as much. He said he'll wait later on in the window to decide on Tim. Who else? Cameron Archer. I've just scored in the week, and I think he needs to be kept around the group as well. He's really improved since his loan. That Preston loan has really worked out for him. He looks a different player now. Looks confident in his interviews and confident on the pitch, and a real goal threat. Good movement, finisher, and like you say, with the 5 subs now, you got 20 minutes to go. Bring on Archer. He's got a knack of scoring goals, so I'll keep him around as well. So yeah, the majority will be kept around. I think Ben Quisene, he'll probably head out, given the signing of Ludwig Augustinsson.
Yeah.
And other than that, I think keep him around the group. Good enough. They've shown they're good enough, and they've proved it. Yeah.
Yeah, Leon Bailey, like we said, is probably the biggest beneficiary of this pre-season, and he will be like a new signing again, to get another cliche in there, if he can stay fit. And that is the biggest kind of concern with him, isn't he? We've seen before about his injury record, and I've joked about it a few times about him having cheese string hamstrings, or made out of paper straws, or whatever different things people will use as jokes about it. It's not funny really, but also kind of is. But if he can stay fit, it's like a different player. It's a different option. And as much as Gerard, we've said about him not really wanting to play wingers, we've seen when you're relying on your wingers, your depth, your width to be from your fullbacks, doesn't quite work. If you've got a natural winger sat there who's fit and ready and who's firing in pre-season, Bailey suddenly becomes a genuine option to start games. It's just all about fitness, isn't it? He's got to prove that he's reliable to start 30 games.
That was another question in my notebook, Dan, as well. Yeah, see? I'm going to ask Gerard about what's Bailey done. Did he have a particular program in the summer to get him back to full fitness, and what's he shown in the tour? What's different about him now, given his troubled times last time? I know injury struggled with, and a bit of loss of form and confidence, but now he looks like a different player. We're talking about a £25 million, £30 million player here.
Yeah.
Who's really exciting. Gives Villa a bit of pace, a bit of purpose. He ran a bit Lindelof earlier and caressed home a great finish. Got a goal scoring threat, and yeah, he could become the player we all hoped he would have been last season. So yeah, that was another one of my questions, and we'll see. They'll return back to the UK. Got head to France next weekend, and I think Bailey will play a big part in that. And then he'll be pushing Gerard to say, you know what, start me. I deserve it. I'm in form. I'm one of the form players here. Pick me for Bournemouth, and I think that's a good way to be. That depth we have now, people scrapping for shirts. That's what we want to see. The centre-back situation we've talked about. Mings, Ponce's back in there now. Mings, Chambers, Diego Carlos, all scrapping for shirts. And if you're not on it the 1 week, you're at risk of losing your shirt, and that could be for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. So, yeah, healthy competition, and that should bode well for Villa moving into the new season. It really will.
Yeah, that's how it should be. If Jacob Ramsey, for example, starts at the first game of the season or the first couple and isn't quite on it, he has looked quite over pre-season. To be fair, but he has had a long season. The year just gone with the England under 19s, was it under 21s as well? 21s, yeah. If he's not ready, somebody else comes in, and that's the way it goes. You've got to be a little bit ruthless to a certain extent. What about Sanson? I suppose he's another one that's on the periphery of things, and who is getting minutes in terms of, in comparison to Gilbert, who hasn't. What do you think of that? Is that a giving you minutes to stick around, or giving you minutes to put you in the shop window?
I thought he did all right, Sanson. He got on the ball quite a lot. He looked hungry to impress today. Bit of a different story in the week. Was it Leeds game? He didn't really show enough last time out. But yeah, Sanson was quite decent today. I think he should stick around. He has shown a bit enough in cameos he's had. Another question I'd like to ask Jared about Sanson. What's he shown in the last 2 weeks? Can he be a big player for Villa finally? We're yet to see that. So yeah, Sanson did impress. He stood out for me today in that second half. Got on the ball, put a few crosses into the box, ran at United and got forward. And yeah, I liked his work today, Sanson. As did I thought Douglas Luiz was quite good. A bit of unsung hero, Dougie. I thought he was good today. Got on the ball and settled things down a little bit to allow for Villa to attack. So yeah, Sanson did well. I'll keep him around. I don't know what the comment section say. Your thoughts on Sanson, but yeah, I thought he did enough today to warrant a place. And I know Villa are in the market for another midfielder, so we'll see where that goes. And yeah, like you said, Jacob Ramsey hasn't really hit the heights, but I think he raised the bar that high down last season. It's going to be hard for him to show that again. I think so. We need to protect him a little bit. He can come out the side now and again, and that's the blessing of having a good squad.
I know it depends whether you're playing a 2 in midfield or a 3. What would your midfield setup be with who we've currently got? I'll ask you about future transfers in a sec.
Yeah, you got to say Kamara, McGinn, and then it's one of your 3 there. Probably Douglas Luiz edging Ramsey at the moment. I'm not sure. A lot of Ramsey's running the first half. It gives Villa something different in terms of a presence going forward. Running right at the opposition. Ramsey's right at that. So at the moment, it's probably Kamara, McGinn, Ramsey, but Douglas Luiz is on Ramsey's tails big time. And yeah, good options to have. And I think Jared wants to add one more in there. I think he wants real competition. He's got that at the back. He wants it in midfield and maybe up front as well. But yeah, that'd probably be the midfield 3 for me. Kamara, McGinn, and Ramsey as things stand. But yeah, big shout out for Douglas today. He played well against Man U.
Yeah, I'd be tempted with Douglas over McGinn, to be honest. And it'd be Douglas and Kamara as a bit of a base, Ramsey slightly further forward, and then either Bailey and Coutinho maybe on the left behind one striker as a 4-2-3-1, but Ramsey to drop into a proper 3 on occasion as well. There's options, and that's what we'll talk about. As the season progresses, we've got our big pre-season preview, as I've mentioned a few times this midweek. So we'll talk about all this at more depth then. In terms of this tour showing Joe what he might need in addition to his current squad, are we crying out for an extra midfielder to come in and start? And we're going Kamara and Ramsey at 2, and the third choice is new number 8 who costs £45 million or whatever, a big money deal.
Yeah, I think so. I think Gerard said we can't stop now in terms of A-class signings. He spoke in depth, asked him about the Kamara and Diego Carlos deals, Dan, and how he managed to pull them off, given the interest in them. Champions League clubs in for them. What did you do? I said, you lock him in a room? He said, no, but he sold the vision to him. He's seen him in person. I think Gerard's seen targets in person and the pull he has and the way he sells Villa and his project going ahead. I think that's massive. So, yeah, I'm expecting a high caliber addition to come in, of course. They need to be pushing your McGinns and Ramseys, if not taking their shirts off them. And it's a big fight for whoever starts at Bournemouth and going to the new season. They don't want to jump at that level now. Mid-table isn't good enough now. They want to just scrap for them places in the top 7, 8. And we're all trying to upset the order that way. So in order to do that, you can't be buying standard players. You just make you stand still. You need to buy the high-caliber player, the ones who have been around the block, the ones who play Champions League football, international football, the ones who can handle the pressure of playing it week after week, the ones who want to win. And in Kamara and Diego Carlos, and I think he's got them already. But I think, 1 or 2 more to come.
Yeah, a couple of more talking points. One of them, we'll stay with transfers first. What do you think of the striker? Because a lot of the fan base is suggesting, Watkins has had a pre-season to impress and hasn't quite yet. He didn't obviously dropped off last season and compared to his first. I think the commentary on the stream I was watching today was from the Man United end, and they were saying, Danny Ings was a 1-in-2 striker at Southampton, basically something like 47 goals in 100 games or something like that. Is that right? 1-in-2? Yeah. And at Villa, I think he scored 7 last year. Dropped off, but he's still an elite finisher and all these different kind of things they were saying about him. Archer obviously bleeding through, and everyone's saying, yes, start him, but he's still only a 19-year-old kid who's not played in the Premier League any more than a couple of minutes here and there. So the concern is we need another striker. We need this 20-goal striker to come in, this 25-goal striker to come in and be the main guy, because the others aren't good enough. But there's still that kind of nagging thought in the back of my head that thinks we've got 3 strikers there who will all chip in, and that's probably good enough for Gerrard. I'm not sure how you read the situation there.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Dan. I think he seems it's good enough at the moment, and if they're playing well behind them, chances will come, and they're going to be taking them. So, yeah, I don't think strikers not of a pressing need at the moment. I think they'll decide later on Archer as well.
We do need to start putting the ball in the back of the net, though. Like, I do understand the concerns of the striker front. Like, we scored 1 goal against Leeds, 1 goal against Brisbane Roar, 1 from Bailey today, and then a last-ditch kind of coming together from a centre-back right at the end. Like, this isn't kind of pre-season where I know the standard is different, but Watkins is banging in a hat-trick and we're going, oh, yeah, like, he's ready. Like, he looks fired up. He's had his finishing coach. He's clearly improved. He's ready to go. Like, there is a little bit of a concern there. But if the right deal doesn't become available, I don't know who this 20-goal striker is. Like, if it's a few weeks ago and it's Gabriel Jesus, and we're going, oh, yeah, elite level from Man City, really improves what Villa have got, 50 million, done. Like, that makes sense. A Tammy Abraham, another kind of similar calibre of player. But if it's like, I can't think of a good example here, but if it's like 12, 14 million we sign on a striker who's, second choice kind of thing, I kind of wonder what's the point of that. It's got to kind of be a big deal or nothing, doesn't it? And if the big deal doesn't become available, then I think we're going to be stuck with the 3 that we've got.
I think that'll be the case. I think they'll have the 3 that they've got at the moment. I expect Keenan to head out probably later in the window once he's back fit. And I don't think there's real panic station at the moment. I know everyone wants to see his strikers in the goals in pre-season, but I think Villa need to create more chances for them. It's not like they're missing bags of chances, is it? And De Gea wasn't really worked today, was he? He wasn't really worked at all, De Gea. So I think they need to start creating chances. I think Coutinho needs to show a little bit more as well. In the final third, he looked frustrated today, Coutinho. I think on the ball as much, and I think Fred did a job on him. So, chance creation needs to improve, Dan, from the midfielders and from the fullbacks, obviously, as well. So I think that's more of a concern for me, carving out real clear-cut chances so your Ings and Watkins can finish them.
Yeah. All right, captaincy. I know you've asked Gerrard about it and done a story on that, but again, today we saw that Mings started in the same side as Martinez, and it was Mings back with the armband today. Obviously, Mings goes off, and then so does Martinez for Olsen later, and McGinn gets the armband for the last 25 minutes or so. What's your take on the captaincy situation? Will that be sorted before France, do we think, or will it just be we'll only know the captain before Bournemouth?
Yeah, maybe just after France in the week up leading to Bournemouth. Yeah, still up for grabs according to Gerrard. But obviously he said 2 or 3 are in the frame. Them 2 or 3, I think it's obvious. It's Mings, Martinez or McGinn. I think that'll be the case. And yeah, interesting one. We spoke about that last night, didn't we? If Mings is stripped to the captaincy, could that upset the dressing room? It possibly could, but yeah, it's still up for grabs. Interesting Gerrard's comments on it yesterday, saying there's 2 or 3 in the frame. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to make my decision next week. He's basically announcing his own new long-term Villa captain. So he wanted to have a look at the group in pre-season at close quarters. Who's the real leader here? And like you mentioned, Dan, yesterday, saying Tyrone Mings' space in the 11 isn't guaranteed, is it, given the depth Villa have now? So yeah, interesting one. I think it'll roll on. Probably say Mings at the moment, but I think McGinn, I think Martinez got a good shout as well. I've seen his interview yesterday. Speaks well, doesn't he, Martinez? Got the respect to the dressing room. Everyone loves him, and he really wants to push Villa on as well. So I think Martinez in with a sneaky shout, as is McGinn.
Yeah, I think it'll end up being Martinez. I think there'd be, because there was the talk when Gerrard even first come in about, I've got to see who my captain is, and it was Mings that stuck with it. That almost felt a little bit convenient to keep it with Mings because he's already got it, so let's just not disrupt it. Pre-season now, new assistant manager, my style of players, I'm doing all these things. Like we said, I don't think Mings is a guaranteed starter, so to name him captain, if he might only play 60% of the games or something, is a bit of a strange choice, but I know it keeps things kind of the continuity of having the same captain as before. But Martinez will play every single game if he's fit. So he will be captain for every single game in the league. So that makes sense to give it to him, and he's at the back of things, and he kind of sets the standards then of, he does speak very well. So I assume he's got the same kind of mentality in the dressing room as well. So Martinez makes sense, but I wouldn't be against Mings keeping it. I think Mings is a good captain. Just depends on what his game time's going to be like, I think.
Yeah, I think Martinez is a real winner, isn't he, Dan? He's a real winner. And I think Gerrard he's taking Villa into a new era now. It's going places, Villa. I think he wants to just freshen things up a bit, keep players on the toes. And that's with the captaincy as well. I'd be interested how Mings reacts. Should he be stripped a bit? Yeah. Sounds a bit harsh saying stripped to captaincy, but it's just a changing dynamics in the dressing room. So, yeah, I think I quite like that decision from Gerrard to keep everyone on the toes, and we'll have an announcement on that, I'm guessing, next week.
I mean, if Mings does lose the captaincy, I still have this leadership group where Mings, Martinez and McGinn are clearly in that. So someone like Ashley Young. So they're still involved in being kind of a senior pro in the dressing room. I don't think it will harm Mings too much. It might even up his game to think, well, I've got a point to prove now. I've lost the armband, so I need to step up and show that I should have never lost it. Might also take a bit of pressure off him that he can now just focus on his game rather than being the leader and organising stuff. But he'll still play like a captain. He'll still organise from the back as he does, whether he wears the armband or not. So it doesn't matter that much. I don't think it matters as much as it used to. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting the dynamic it creates more so than anything, and what the dressing room reacts to a change, if there is a change. I think that's it from the game, to be honest. I didn't want to go too in depth, and we've already done 25 minutes. I've said first half was rubbish, second half was better. Bailey's the key standout. That's basically the takeaways from Man United for me. Let's talk finally. We've done it a few times in these podcasts that we've done. We've probably done more podcasts in the last 10 days than we have over any 10-day period before, with 3 games and plenty of check-ins with you when you're travelling around different parts of Australia, training sessions, pressers, all these different things. So like I say, we have touched on this elsewhere, but give us your kind of summary now, because you've got one more day there. You just said the Villa squad fly back ASAP. You've got the whole of Sunday there. I think you said you might go and take in an A-League game as well if you get time. But this is the last time we'll check in and do a podcast while you're in Australia. So for those that have watched all the content that we've brought and all the stories you've written and the photos and the videos and all things like that, just summarise the last 10 days, the last 9 days that you've had.
Yeah, very surreal, Dan. Yeah, very surreal. Lucky to be doing this job, and thanking you guys and work for sending me out here. I think it's important to be out here, to be a presence, and the feedback we've had has been great from the Clattery podcast as well, and what we're doing. So, yeah, very, very humbling experience, very surreal, and yeah, Villa are huge out here, and I think they should be doing it again in a couple of years' time or later down the line. So, yeah, fantastic experience. One I'll never forget, and yeah, the people are so friendly out here, real friendly. Everyone talks to you, and the Villa fans love the club as much as we do, and they're 10,000 miles away. And it's a credit to them that they get up at stupid o'clock to watch Villa and to tune in, and they listen to us waffling on, and they love it. They can't get enough of it. So yeah, I've had a great time. The Villa fans, everyone, those from the UK, I think about 20 odd have travelled from the UK. From Birmingham and Dublin. I've met some great guys. I met friends for life as well. Davo and Jodie, they're from Melbourne. They cooked me an English breakfast this morning. I walked up to them. Never met them before. 10 days ago. Never met them before. I'm having breakfast with them. And yeah, the Villa supporters from back home and over here, overwhelming. It really has a lot of size. Emotionally the other day. And yeah, I've been blown away by the support we've had. And yeah, Australia's been crazy. So thanks for all the love and the support, and I hope I've done a decent enough job for you, with more to come later on this evening. So yeah, fantastic experience, and yeah, I'd love to come back. Bring you next time, Dano.
Oh, I'd love to come. I'd absolutely love. I'd love to have been there alongside doing things with all the proper camera gear and mics, and really going to town with it. I'd have geeked out over that. That would have been so good. I love that I've asked you about your experience for Australia, and it's not about Aston Villa and the football and the 3 lots of 90 minutes played. That's a byproduct. You're just there to take all the things in and the experience of it all, and the people you've met and stuff like that. So yeah, it sounds like a really good trip, and I think you've represented our fan base well over there and brought some good stuff back in terms of videos and pictures and stories and stuff as well. So there's loads of nice feedback in the comments on podcasts we've done, so they've enjoyed the Australian updates. Like I said, this is the last time we'll check in now. You fly back Sunday night, so you'll be back in the UK Monday afternoon. We're doing our big pre-season podcast on Wednesday, so that'll probably be the next time that you and me chat on a video. Anyway, obviously to speak before then. And then you fly off to France on Friday. Is that right?
Yeah, Friday night. I think about 7 o'clock in the evening. Friday night, stay over in Paris, and then I'll head to Rennes Saturday morning.
Okay.
Early Saturday morning, getting to Rennes about 12 noon. I think kickoffs at 6 local time, 6 p.m. Rennes. So a bit of a in and out tour of Rennes, really. A few of the clubs are going over. Bedford Lions, I think. I'm looking forward to meeting up with them. Yeah, it should be really good. I think there's a few 1,300 tickets Villa have sold for that one. So I think there'll be about 2,000 out there. So it'll be much bigger Villa presence out there in terms of numbers. But yeah, looking forward to that one in France, and that's the rehearsal for Bournemouth, isn't it? Really, you can read a lot into next week's showing against Rennes, and I think a few players could be headed out before then, and as Gerrard shapes his squad. So you're looking forward to Rennes, looking forward to meeting up with Villa fans over there. We'll get some video again, people having a good time, and same again.
Yeah, so we've got a podcast coming out tomorrow or Monday of me and Matt Kendrick retelling the story of Stan Petrov's nearly comeback in 2016, which was a good discussion we had about whether Di Matteo should have given him the contract or not. Wednesday, we're filming our pre-season preview, which will be out Wednesday night or Thursday, depending on how long it takes me to edit it. And then from Friday onwards, we'll see plenty of updates from France. Saturday, we'll probably do a pre-match video or a tour of the ground or something like that. Post-match show on Saturday night as well. So 5 o'clock kickoff for UK time. So we'll do a podcast 8 p.m, 9 p.m, something like that. And then, like I said, it's a build up to Bournemouth then from the week afterwards. So plenty of stuff still coming your way on the Claret Blue podcast and now all our social channels and obviously on Birmingham Live and the newsletter and all those kind of written updates as well. Loads of comments coming in saying, well done, Ash. Pleasure to meet you. Thanks for the stuff you're doing, all those kind of things. That's lovely to see. Awesome. Ash, thanks for your time. Get yourself some sleep. Enjoy your day tomorrow with whatever you do. Thanks to everyone who's watching along live with this on Saturday afternoon as Villa end their tour down under. And stay tuned to all our stuff, and we'll see you again in a couple of days. Thanks, Ash.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.